Let's start with the part most people try to skip, the mirror. Because before anything changes out there, something has to shift in here. Day one is not about doing more, it's about seeing more. Seeing yourself clearly, honestly, without filters, without excuses, without the comfort of pretending everything is fine. Most people say they want a better life, but they're not willing to confront the patterns that are keeping them stuck. And I get it, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to admit that maybe it's not your circumstances holding you back, but your habits. It's uncomfortable to realize that the same choices you made yesterday are the same ones shaping your today. But hear me, clarity is power, and you can't heal what you won't reveal. So on this first day, I need you to get real with yourself. Where are you wasting time? Where are you shrinking back when you should be stepping up? What lies have you been telling yourself just to stay comfortable? Maybe it's, I don't have time. Maybe it's, I'm just not ready. Maybe it's, this is just who I am. No, that's who you've practiced being. And anything you've practiced, you can unlearn. This is the moment where you stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership not blame ownership, because blame keeps you stuck, but ownership gives you power. When you own your habits, your mindset, your decisions, you also take back control of your future. You have to become aware of the small things, the way you talk to yourself when no one is listening, the way you hesitate when opportunity shows up, the way you choose comfort over growth again and again. These aren't just little things. These are the patterns building your life, and I'm not asking you to judge yourself. I'm asking you to study yourself. There's a difference. Judgment says, I'm not good enough. Awareness says, now I know where to grow. Awareness says, now I know where to grow. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's where transformation begins. You start recognizing this habit isn't serving me. This mindset is limiting me. This environment is draining me. And suddenly you're no longer moving through life on autopilot. You're intentional, you're awake, you're present. And that awareness, that's your leverage, because now every choice becomes conscious. Every action becomes deliberate, and every step forward becomes a decision, not an accident. This is the foundation of becoming unstoppable, not pretending to be perfect, but being willing to be honest, not waiting for the right moment, but creating it through truth. So before you try to change your life, take a moment to face it fully, honestly, without running. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, is the moment everything starts to change. Now that you face yourself, honestly, without filters, you can't stay there. Awareness without direction will leave you overwhelmed. So now we move into something that gives your life shape, something that pulls you forward instead of leaving you stuck in what you just uncovered. This is where vision comes in, because it's not enough to know what's wrong. You've got to decide what right looks like for you. What does unstoppable actually mean in your life? Not in someone else's highlight reel, not in what people expect from you, not in what looks good on the outside, but for you. What does it feel like to wake up and know you're walking in purpose? What does it look like to show up as the version of yourself you keep thinking about, but haven't fully committed to yet? You've got to see it before you can step into it. And I'm not talking about a vague idea like, I just want to be successful or I want to do better. That kind of thinking won't carry you when things get hard. You need clarity that is so sharp, so specific, that it leaves no room for confusion, because confusion creates hesitation, and hesitation kills momentum. So get clear. What are the 1, 2, maybe 3 things that truly matter right now? Not 10, not 20. Just the ones that, if you committed to them fully, would begin to shift your entire life. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe it's your mindset. Maybe it's a skill you've been putting off or a goal you've been too afraid to chase. Choose them. And once you choose them, stop negotiating with yourself about them. This is where most people lose it. They treat their goals like options instead of commitments. They say, I'll try, or I'll see how it goes. Or if I feel like it, no. That's not how you become unstoppable. You become unstoppable when your goals become non-negotiable. When you decide, this is who I'm becoming, no matter what it costs me in comfort. Because let's be honest, anything worth becoming is going to require you to stretch. It's going to ask more of you than you have been giving. And if your vision isn't clear, you'll quit the moment it gets uncomfortable. But when you can see it, when you can feel it, when it's real to you, not just an idea, but a decision, something shifts. You start moving differently. You start saying no to things that don't align. You start protecting your time, your energy, your focus. And suddenly your life begins to organize itself around what matters most. That's the power of clarity. It doesn't just show you where to go, it eliminates everything that doesn't belong on the journey. So I need you to stop playing small with your vision. Stop diluting it to make other people comfortable. Stop shrinking it because you're afraid of failing. Decide who you're becoming, lock in on it, and move like there is no alternative. Because the moment your vision becomes non-negotiable is the moment your life starts to follow. Now that you've seen yourself clearly and you've decided where you're going, this is the part where everything gets tested. Because it's one thing to have a vision. It's another thing to show up for it every single day. And this is where most people fall off, not because they don't want it, but because they're relying on something that was never meant to carry them. Motivation. Motivation feels good. It's exciting. It's emotional. It gives you that temporary push. But let's be honest, it's inconsistent. Some days you wake up ready, energized, focused, and other days you don't feel like doing anything. And if your life is built on how you feel, then your results will always be unstable. That's why discipline has to take the lead. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't come with hype or perfect timing. Discipline is quiet, steady, and often inconvenient. It's the decision to show up even when your feelings don't agree. It's choosing your future over your comfort again and again until it becomes who you are. Because the truth is, your life right now is a reflection of what you've been consistent with, not what you wanted, not what you planned, what you actually did repeatedly. So if you want a different life, you don't need a perfect plan. You need a consistent one. Start simple. You don't have to overhaul everything overnight. In fact, that's where people go wrong. They try to change everything at once, burn out, and then go right back to old habits. No, this is about building something sustainable, a routine that you can commit to no matter how you feel. Maybe it's waking up at a certain time. Maybe it's dedicating an hour to your goal every day. Maybe it's cutting out distractions during your most productive hours. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. And here's where it gets real. You're not always going to feel like doing it. There will be days when you're tired, days when you're distracted, days when everything in you wants to go back to what's easy. And in those moments, discipline is the only thing that will carry you through. Because discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like it? It asks, did I commit to it? And when you start honoring your commitments, even when it's hard, something shifts inside of you. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. And that identity, that's where real power lives. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop making excuses. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You just show up day after day. Step after step, no drama, no excuses, just execution. And over time, what once felt hard becomes normal. What once felt forced becomes natural. And what once felt forced becomes natural. And what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. The momentum. This is how you separate yourself, not by doing something extraordinary once, but by doing the ordinary things extraordinary well consistently. Because at the end of the day, it's not motivation that changes your life. It's what you do when motivation is gone. Now that you've built awareness, locked in your vision, and committed to discipline, there's something else you have to confront: what's around you. Because no matter how strong your intentions are, your environment will either support your growth or silently sabotage it. And the truth is, a lot of what's holding you back isn't just internal, it's external. It's the distractions you've normalized. It's the habits that seem small but steal hours from your life. It's the spaces, the noise, the influences that keep pulling you away from the person you said you wanted to become. You can't become unstoppable while constantly entertaining what's stopping you. So now you've got to take a real look at what's draining you. Where is your time actually going? Not where you think it's going. Where is it really going? How many hours are slipping into scrolling, comparing, consuming, instead of creating, building, and moving forward? Because every distraction has a cost, and most of the time, that cost is your focus. And focus is everything. You cannot build a powerful life with a scattered mind. You cannot step into your next level while constantly being pulled back into habits that keep you comfortable. Growth requires space. It requires intention. It requires you to protect your energy like it matters, because it does. This might mean stepping back from certain people, not because you don't care, but because you finally care about your direction more. This might mean saying no to things you used to say yes to simply because they no longer align with where you're going. And let's be honest, that's not all. Eyes easy. People won't always understand your boundaries. They won't always agree with your changes, but you didn't commit to this journey to stay the same. You committed to evolve. And evolution requires separation. You've got to create an environment that makes discipline easier, not harder. If your phone is your biggest distraction, set limits. If your space is chaotic, organize it. If your routines are inconsistent, structure them. These are not small changes. They are strategic moves that set you up to win, because when your environment is aligned, your effort multiplies. You don't have to fight yourself as much. You don't have to rely on willpower every second of the day. Instead, your surroundings begin to support your habits, your focus, your growth. And that's when things start to feel different. You become more intentional with your time, more selective with your energy, more aware of what you allow into your life. Not everything deserves access to you anymore. That version of you that you are becoming, they don't entertain everything. They don't respond to everything. They don't respond to everything. They don't give their energy to things that don't move them forward. So you've got to make a decision. Are you going to keep adapting to distractions, or are you going to start eliminating them? Because you can't hold on to what's comfortable and step into what's calling you at the same time. At some point, you have to choose. And the moment you start protecting your focus is the moment your power starts to return. By now, you've cleared the noise, tightened your focus, and committed to showing up. But there's one thing that will determine whether you keep going when it gets hard. And it will get hard. This is where mindset becomes everything. Because no matter how strong your plan is, if your mind isn't built to handle pressure, you will fold the moment life pushes back. And life, why? I'll push back. There will be moments when things don't go your way. Moments when you give your best and it still doesn't work out. Moments when doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe you're not ready, maybe you're not capable, maybe you should just go back to what's familiar. That's the moment most people stop, not because they're weak, but because they never trained their mind to stay. You have to understand, being unstoppable is not about avoiding challenges. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't break because of them. It's about developing a mindset that doesn't panic under pressure, that doesn't collapse in discomfort, that doesn't run at the first sign of resistance. And that kind of mindset is built. It's not given. You build it every time you choose growth over ease, every time you keep going when it would be easier to quit, every time you face something uncomfortable and decide, this is not going to take me out, I'm going to learn from it. Because what you go through is not there to destroy you, it's there to develop you. But only if you see it that way, your perspective changes everything. Two people can face the same obstacle, and one sees it as a reason to stop, while the other sees it as a reason to rise. The difference is not talent. It's mindset. So you've got to start training your thoughts, not ignoring reality, but choosing how you respond to it. When something goes wrong, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift alone will change how you move through life. You stop taking setbacks personally. You stop attaching your worth to outcomes. You stop seeing failure as an ending and start seeing it as information. And when you do that, you become dangerous in the best way, because now nothing can stop you. Not rejection, not delays, not mistakes. You adapt, you adjust, you keep moving. You start building resilience. And resilience is what carries you when motivation is gone, when results are slow, when nobody is clapping for you. It's what keeps you grounded when things are uncertain. It's what reminds you that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong. And over time, you begin to trust yourself in a different way. You realize that you can handle more than you thought, that you can push further than you've gone before, that you're not fragile. You're not fragile. You're being forged. This is where you stop fearing discomfort and start embracing it, because you understand now every challenge is shaping you into the person your vision requires. So instead of running from it, you rise through it, because an unbreakable mindset isn't built when things are easy. It's built when you decide you're not going anywhere, even they tear. Now, this is where everything comes together. You've done the inner work. You've faced yourself, defined your vision, committed to discipline, protected your focus, and strengthened your mindset. But none of it means anything if you don't move, because at the end of the day, action is the only thing that turns intention into transformation. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't need more time. You don't need more information, and you definitely don't need to feel more ready. What you need is to start right where you are with what you have, because waiting is the most dangerous habit of all. Waiting for the perfect moment. Waiting for more confidence, waiting for everything to line up just right. But life doesn't reward waiting, it responds to movement. And the longer you wait, the more doubt grows, the more fear settles in, the more distance you create between you and the life you said you wanted. So now you move, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but consistently. You take what you have learned and you apply it. You take the vision and you execute on it. You take the discipline you've been building and you let it carry you into real, tangible action. Because this is where momentum is born, not in thinking, not in planning, but in doing. And it might feel small at first. One step. One decision, one action that doesn't look like much on the outside, but don't underestimate it, because every big result you've ever seen started the same way. Small, consistent actions repeated over time. That's how momentum works. It builds quietly. It starts slow, but once it gets going, it becomes powerful. It begins to pull you forward. What once felt hard starts to feel natural. What once required effort starts to feel automatic, and suddenly you're not forcing yourself anymore, you're flowing. But you only get there if you keep going. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is happening, moments when the results don't match your effort, moments when you question if it's even working. And this is where everything you've built gets tested one more time. Do you stop or do you continue? Because unstoppable people are not the ones who never doubt. They're the ones who don't let doubt decide. They move anyway. They act anyway. They show up anyway. They understand that progress is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's invisible. But it's happening. And every time you choose to act, you're reinforcing something deeper than results. You're reinforcing your identity, your become, and the kind of person who follows through, the kind of person who doesn't quit when it's inconvenient, the kind of person who turns vision into reality through consistent action. And that's where the real shift happens. You're no longer trying to become unstoppable. You are unstoppable, not because everything is perfect, not because you have it all figured out, but because you've built the habits, the mindset, and the resilience to keep moving forward no matter what. So now there's only one thing left to do: move. Because your life is not going to change when you're ready. It's going to change when you decide.